Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa has lost some weight. What does that mean for him and the Dolphins? Jevon Holland, is he one of the more underrated players in the National Football League? And then to close out today's show, are the Dolphins potentially going to restructure Bradley Chubb's contract to free up some more cap space? I'm Nic Rohloff of Dolphins Today. Loaded show, so let's jump into it. Let's get right into the rumors and reports surrounding Tua, because Cameron Wolfe came out with this report a couple days ago and said, I'm told QB Tua Tagovailoa dropped 10 to 15 pounds, is down to 220 pounds. His ideal playing weight this year because he's seeking more agility and escapability in the backfield when those pass rushers are coming charging at him. We're going to talk about what this means for the Dolphins and Tua for the upcoming season, but make sure you are helping us out by helping you out, because the more people that come in and watch the show, the more content that we're able to put out. We'll be able to get live shows again. So help us out by helping yourself out. Share today's video to make this channel the largest Dolphins YouTube channel there is. Select the Twitter/X icon. Click post to Twitter/X, and I'll give you some bonus. You tag me in the tweet at Nic_Rohloff. I'll give you a nice retweet when you do it on Twitter. All right, let's talk about Tua now, because it's pretty evident at the difference in weight lost already. I know 10 to 15 pounds doesn't feel like a lot, but for athletes it is, because they are so built with muscle that when you drop 10 to 15 pounds, it's very noticeable. This was Tua at the Pro Bowl. I mean, listen, he was one of the best quarterbacks in football last year. He led the league in passing, but you can tell at the Pro Bowl, a little chunk to him. And as someone who knows a little about chunk, like, I could see it. But then we see this photo yesterday that was put out by the social media team, and you can see a noticeable difference. Like, that 10 to 15 pounds is really, really noticeable. You can just see it in his face, and I know he's not wearing a tight shirt, so it's a little bit more difficult in that department, but when you do look at his face, I think you can tell the difference of the 10 to 15 pounds. And not only is this great for Tua and his long-term health in all likelihood, but it's also great for him playing football, and it's good for the Miami Dolphins because, as Cameron Wolfe noted, Tua is trying to drop the 10 to 15 pounds to get more mobility and escapability in the pocket. And being that nimble, and he's not the only quarterback that lost weight this offseason, by the way. Patrick Mahomes gained weight, if you saw that clip. It was pretty evident there. But Lamar Jackson also dropped some weight, getting his speed and quickness up a little bit, even though I didn't really think he needed to. He's already a thin quarterback as it stands. But Tua losing this weight will give him more ability to move and be nimble inside the pocket, which is very important. Tua also can scramble. He doesn't do it as much anymore after the head injuries that he suffered over his early portion of his career, but being able to move around quicker and maybe get to your reads quicker because you're moving around, the footwork is more up to speed, will just only help him and the Miami Dolphins. And Dan Orlovsky agrees. He hopped on the Pat McAfee show. I don't know what your guys' thoughts on Dan Orlovsky is, but I do respect his opinion when it comes to quarterback play. And he said that the one part of Tua's game that I think hasn't necessarily shown up or translated as much in the NFL as it did in college was Tua in the pocket, because he was really sudden and he was able to make a lot of quick movements, is what he went on to say. And I'll be honest, I'm kind of riding the Tua hype train. Chew, chew, chew. I know that some of the people out there are not the biggest Tua supporters. I get it. He's come up short in some big games at times. I'm not going to try to deny that. But I think he legitimately has a chance at winning MVP this year if he's able to get more agile and avoid pass rushers and find the wide receivers down the field. He's got an unbelievable arsenal to work with in Odell Beckham Jr., Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane, Jonnu Smith, Jalen Wright. Like, there is a crew there in a Mike McDaniel offense that is very friendly to quarterback. So if he's able to add quickness, mobility, and even some more rushing yards, potentially scrambling out of the pocket, then there is a legit chance he could win MVP, because the numbers a year ago were, I wouldn't say MVP caliber numbers, but they were damn close. Like, the completion percentage at 69.3, that's terrific. Led the league in passing, 4,600 yards, obviously outstanding. Now, the one thing that does need to improve is the touchdowns to interception ratio. Sure, 29-14 isn't horrific, but we get that up to 35 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, and now we're talking business, fellas. QBR at a 60.8. Like, I'm telling you, you improve the touchdown total to 35, lower the interceptions to 10, and keep that yardage the same. And the Dolphins are one of the best teams in the AFC and potentially win the AFC East Division crown this year. I think Tua is legitimately going to be in the MVP running. So what say you? Can Tua Tagovailoa win the NFL MVP award in 2024? If you think the lefty can do it and break out, type Y for yes or type N for no. It's fascinating. I think there's a real shot. All right, let's move on to Jevon Holland now. And is he underrated in the NFL? Because Pro Football Focus dropped a list of 25 players, the top 25 guys under the age of 25. And our guy Jevon Holland came in at 17th on this list. So he obviously got some props from PFF, but I honestly think he should be higher. Bijan Robinson. I love Bijan. Great running back. Was higher than Jevon Holland. I mean, Bijan, he's a good RB, but like, Holland's a dog, dude, and he should have been higher on this list, but this kind of parlayed into me thinking of what an extension could be like, and should he get extended, and overall how impactful he is for Miami, and that's why I wanted to share this article with you, because Pro Football Focus on Jevon Holland said even though he missed time due to injury, Holland bounced back well in 2023 following a somewhat disappointing sophomore season. After 12 weeks, Holland was the NFL's highest-graded safety overall at 91.2 and the top coverage player at the position at 90.7. He has the potential to be one of the best safeties in the league over the next couple of seasons if he can avoid injuries. And I don't dispute what Pro Football Focus is saying. Like, the numbers speak for themselves, man. He has been terrific over the course of his 3-year career. 23, obviously only played in 12 games, but racked up 4 PBUs, 1 INT, 3 forced fumbles. This guy just takes the ball away from the opposing offenses, having 5 interceptions and 4 forced fumble in the 45 career games played. He's also not afraid to get in the box and make some tackles. That's one of the things that is so impressive about him. He's a willing and able tackler. 239 tackles for a safety through 3 seasons is very, very solid. And this kind of just makes me think, and kind of going to pound the table here, folks. You got to extend Jevon Holland. You do. And I think that should be one of the highest priorities for Chris Grier in this Dolphins front office during the offseason. It's unfortunate because there's a lot of players that need to be extended, right? You can extend Jevon Holland. You could extend Tua, which has been talked about in the news a lot. You got to extend Jalen Waddle coming up soon. Like, there are a lot of guys that can be extended on this Dolphins roster, Jalen Phillips included. So I do think taking care of Holland right now would be beneficial for Miami, and I think it would be beneficial for Holland as he enters the final year of that 4-year rookie contract he signed after being a second-round pick. More in what a extension could look like in just a second, but make sure you're subscribed to the channel, by the way, because if the Dolphins do extend Jevon Holland or start negotiating and rumors are starting to leak out, we'll have a video having you covered. So join the channel. I'm Nic Rohloff. We're going to have videos on a daily basis surrounding the Dolphins and all the rumors on the team, so hit that sub button. All right, this is what a Jevon Holland contract projection would look like, in my opinion, and what I would feel comfortable giving him. I looked at the highest paid safeties in the NFL and where I think Holland deserves to be paid and where he's ranked, and maybe he is the 3rd best safety in the NFL. But this is where I have him being paid. 4 years, $74 million, $38 million guaranteed, and an $18.5 million annual average salary. So that's a pretty hefty deal, but Holland's been a stud, and the cap is obviously only going to go up, so players are going to only want to get paid more. And what this does, if you're wondering, and where this contract ranks amongst the rest of the league and what it does for Miami. Well, one, it would make Jevon Holland the 3rd highest paid safety in the entire NFL, just behind Antoine Winfield Jr. of Tampa Bay, who just signed that massive extension, Derwin James, who got a big payday a couple of years ago from the Chargers, and it just puts him above Minkah Fitzpatrick from the Steelers. Obviously a former Miami Dolphin. And I do think Fitzpatrick's a better safety than Jevon Holland. Like, I'm not crazy here. But that deal was a long time ago, and obviously new deals are going to top that. So I think Holland being the third highest paid safety in the NFL makes a lot of sense. But if you also got that extension done right now, it would alleviate some cap pressure you have in this upcoming 2024 NFL season, which would allow you to maybe make some other moves in terms of trades, signing free agents. So it gives you flexibility in the short term, but it also locks up one of your best young players because, to me, this is one of your cornerstones of the future, if you will. You can't let him walk, man. You can't. And I know it's playing a dangerous game because you have to extend Tua, and the quarterback position is obviously more important than the safety position. That's not an opinion. That is just a fact. And you want to get that extension done probably prior to getting Jevon Holland done. So in an ideal world, you get them both done this offseason. But like I mentioned a little bit earlier, this is the final year because when you are a rookie, not drafted in the first round, you get 4 years. He's already played 3. This is his 4th. Now you can franchise tag him next offseason, but here's the thing. If you don't get a Tua contract extension done and he plays well and he doesn't sign an extension next year, you're probably going to want to use that franchise tag on Tua. So you need to get at least one of these 2 extensions done in terms of Jevon Holland and Tua, and I think Holland's should be easy and a no-brainer. So let me know, do you think the Dolphins will get an extension done with Jevon Holland? If you believe he will have pen and ink to paper before the NFL season begins in September, type D for done. If you think they end up holding out a little bit because of Tua's contract, type W for won't. Before we get into the Bradley Chubb conversation, one more reminder, make sure you are sharing today's Dolphins video. We're trying to make this the largest Dolphins channel. Help us out. Share this video. Come on, guys. Come on. You love the Dolphins. Spread it to other Dolphins fans. All right, let's talk about Bradley Chubb now, and if the Dolphins could restructure his contract to give them more cap space this upcoming offseason, or not upcoming offseason, but the offseason we're currently in, to allow them to make more additions to this Dolphins roster or give them more money to extend a Jevon Holland or a Tua Tagovailoa. But I think it's important first to look at what a Bradley Chubb contract is right now, and this is all just his cap hit right now. Obviously, the NFL has a lot more complications with their contract in terms of total guaranteed, base cash, incentives, blah, blah, blah. But when you look at his cap hit over the next 4 seasons, because he does have 4 more years left on his contract, $15.8 million this year, $29.3 million the next 2 years, which is kind of odd. It's the same in both seasons. And then the final year of his contract before becoming an unrestricted free agent in 2028 is a $29.6 million cap hit. So what would a restructure give you? Well, the Bleacher Report scouting department gave us this little nugget. It says that around $4 million of Bradley Chubb's salary could be converted into a signing bonus and pushed into the rest of his contract, which already has a void year attached. It would be kicking the salary cap down the road, to an extent, but they are going to have to do something before the season starts. I'll say this, they don't have to do it if they don't want to, but I would be willing to do this because $4 million isn't nothing. And I know it's just like in the grand scheme of things when you're paying someone $29.3 million, well, how important is having $4 million right now? I actually find it very important because there are still some holes on this Dolphins roster. As bullish as I am on this team and what I think they can accomplish this year, that $4 million could be allocated to another player to be an impact guy. We've talked about these 3 pretty extensively on the channel in the past as free agent targets. Greg Van Roten, an offensive guard who has played a lot at right guard, obviously the biggest position of need for Miami right now. Justin Simmons, the free safety from Denver, is still out there. I've always wanted a third safety to help Jevon Holland and Jordan Poyer as a depth guy, but also allow Holland to be in that Kyle Hamilton role in an Anthony Weaver defense. This is similar to the Ravens defense from a year ago. And then Calais Campbell being an interior defensive lineman who can get after the quarterback, gave the Falcons 5.5 sacks last year, but also be a good run stopper, pairing up with Zach Sealer in the middle of that middle of the Dolphins defensive line. Like, you could use that $4 million to get one of these 3 guys, especially when you have $18.1 million coming off the books post-June 1st, thanks to Xavier Howard being released. That would give you about $22 million in cap space that maybe you can, instead of just getting one of these dudes, you can get 2 of the 3 if they would be willing to come to Miami. So the overall summary of the Bradley Chubb potential restructure, if he is down to get that bonus a little pushed back a little bit, I'm in. Like, I think it would be helpful for Miami, and I think Chris Grier should really consider doing this. No, it's not for the biggest amount of cap savings for this year at only $4 million, but if Chubb is game, I'm game because it's going to help you potentially sign one or two of those three guys we just talked about. All right, that's going to do it for today's video. Appreciate you watching throughout today's video. And if you are here and you like the content we're bringing you, which you obviously do if you're still watching, follow me on Twitter, @Nic_Rohloff, because we're talking more about the Dolphins on a day-to-day basis over there. So go give me a follow. I'll see you tomorrow in another video. Go Fins.